The slicer. The dicer. And this time, they're not any nicer.
My children. From the very beginning, it was the children who gave me my power. The Springwood Slasher. That's what they called me. My reign of terror was legendary. Dozens of children would fall by my blades. Then the parents of Springwood came for me. Taking justice into their own hands. When I was alive, I might have been a little naughty, but after they killed me, I became something much, much worse. The stuff nightmares are made of. The children still feared me, and their fear gave me the power to invade their dreams. And that's when the fun really began. Until they figured out a way to forget about me. To erase me completely. Being dead wasn't a problem, but being forgotten, now that's a bitch.
It's only a dream, guys!
I can't come back if nobody remembers me. I can't come back if nobody's afraid. I had to search the bowels of hell, but I found someone. Someone who'll make 'em remember. He may get the blood, but I'll get the glory. And that fear is my ticket home.
Thanks, Freddy. Thank you for making my job easier. So Freddy raises Jason from the dead to put fear into the Elm Street children again so that he can come back and kill. No, this isn't so much a horror movie as it is a sweet action movie. Not to mention the horror and nerdgasm that is the two biggest names in horror going toe to toe. I mean, hell, I wasn't even into horror movies when this came out and I wanted to see it. So you know this was a motion picture event. Since there's nothing really to explain, I mean, the movie is called Freddy vs. Jason. What more is there for me to do? So I'm just going to get down to the gripes and criticisms. So my biggest gripe about the movie is the fact that in a movie called Freddy vs. Jason, Jason gets nearly all of the kills. Freddy gets one. Only one. And it's one of the only characters you actually give a shit about. They tried to make Jason of all people, a sympathetic character. How the fuck do you pull that off? Well, they kinda do. They have a few scenes showing Jason being tortured by his fellow campmen. And they have a scene where he's actually mortally afraid of water. A strange notion making Jason the hero. I mean, it would be quite impossible to make Freddy a sympathetic character, considering he has a personality and he's a sociopathic killer and he knows what he's doing. Whereas Jason is really more of an animal. A wild, teenager-killing animal. He doesn't know any better. Much like a dog who takes a dump on the carpet. So they actually pull it off to some degree. And I must commend them for that. Now, for the characters. Now, the adults in the movie seem like they're from an Elm Street movie. And the teenagers, except for the two that break out of a mental hospital, all seem like Jason characters. This actually turns into a nice dynamic, so I kind of like that. The soundtrack, other than the killer landmark music of, trademark music of Jason and Freddy, is almost all heavy metal. Stuff like Typo Negative, In Flames, and Killswitch Engage. I love good metal, and this movie really delivers. And I also have to commend them for not using the song Bodies. It would seem like an obvious choice, but they did not go with the obvious. They went with good, and for that I must applaud them. And Freddy's makeup in this one is the best it's ever been. I mean, they really outdid themselves on this one. I'd have given the makeup artist an Oscar. It's that good. And the parts where Freddy is actually versing Jason, well, those scenes are simply awesome. There are two big fights in the movie. The first is in the boiler room, Freddy's home turf. So you know Freddy's gonna win that fight. It's actually the only time I can ever think of where the boiler room isn't lit with red. After Jason gets his ass handed to him, it turns green. In the second big fight, they're at Camp Crystal Lake, and Freddy gets sucked into the real world. At this point, you know, it's fucking on. And apparently, somewhere in the 9 years between New Nightmare and this, Freddy took some lessons from Tony Jaa, because he's leaping all over Jason, bringing elbows down on his head, which, you know, Ken Kersinger, the guy who played Jason, is like 6.5 feet tall, whereas Robert Englund is like 5'7", 5'9". So that's kind of a feat, and he's like just jumping all over him, going Bruce Lee on his ass. I mean, he has the leaking power of Michael Jordan and Leon Battista Alberti in one guy. Of course, neither of them is going to win. You know, if one of them actually won, horror fans all over the world would be marching to burn down New Line Cinema. And the other group would be protecting it. It would be an epic battle scene like Lord of the Rings or Braveheart, so neither one of them wins. Overall, it's a really fun movie. Even more fun than The Dream Warriors. It gets an 8 out of 10, because it's just a fun film to watch. You'll probably watch this one more than once just because it's so fun. And I highly suggest you buy it, if only for the special features, which include a commentary track by Robert Englund himself. And that concludes Freddy Krueger Month. And I'm exhausted. Between this, these music videos, and Let's Plays, I've been eating, breathing, and yes, even sleeping Freddy Krueger. I think I'm going to take some time off and just play some video games for a while. Thanks for watching Freddy Krueger Month. I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you had as much fun watching it. Thank you all.